Good morning, Harefield. Today, I'd like to introduce you to my mate, Colin. Here he is, looking all rather cold. Now, many years ago, I went to art college in Colin's hometown, and I went to his church for a couple of years, and I got to know him. He had just come back from some mission work. He felt God had called him to the Bahamas, to a beach mission. Now, if I was going to get a call from God to go somewhere, the beach on the Bahamas is not a bad gig, is it? Anyway, he'd just come back from there, got to know him over 2 years, and then I moved back up to Broxbourne. He followed me up because he then spent 2 years at All Nations College. He met his wife there, which tends to happen, and I went to their wedding, and they were assigned to Sawbridgeworth Church whilst they were at the college, so we never saw them at Harefield. And then they got called to mission again. I think this shows God's got a sense of humour, because having got called to the Bahamas previously, this time, well, they've now spent 15 years or more in Siberia, in a town miles from anywhere that I can't even pronounce, and it seems to be snowing and horrible weather all the time. So he now leads a church there, and I've kept in touch occasionally and get their monthly newsletter. And this month there's a little article in it that I'd like to read to you because it's quite interesting. It's entitled "An Interesting Testimony." So I'll read it. One of our eldest church members, a lady of 85 called Lubov, and here she is, ringed in the red. Okay, so Lubov. She's been too poorly to attend church for the last few months. When Colin looked her up on the church database to find her phone number and arrange a visit, he noticed that she had been baptised in 1952 as an 18-year-old. There are very few elderly church members who are baptised this early in the difficult days of Soviet persecution, and so Colin decided to ask her about her story, how she came to faith. Lubov, there she is again for you. She decided to tell her story from 1914, when her father was drafted into the army to fight in the First World War at 16 years old. He and his brother, so that's Lubov's uncle, were captured and imprisoned in a camp in Germany. During their imprisonment, they heard the gospel and both came to faith. After the war, they returned to Russia. Lubov's father married a Christian lady, so Lubov's mum, but eventually he and his brother were arrested because they were active in their faith. Now his brother, so that's Lubov's uncle, was executed for his faith. Apparently he was full of joy the night before, and God gave him great comfort. Lubov's father was also sentenced to death, but on the way to the place of execution, he prayed that God would look after his young wife and young children. And after praying, a bear came out of the forest, and the prison guards fled, leaving him to escape. He raced home, and the family left for the far east of Russia and then Kazakhstan. They had 14 children in total, but with such a difficult life and with so much moving around, only 4 survived to adulthood, including Lubov. Now, Lubov probably doesn't have much longer to live, and she's eager to go home to be with her Heavenly Father. It will probably not be possible to visit her again with the current situation, but Colin was inspired by this story of people faithfully carrying the faith for over 100 very turbulent years in a very turbulent country. Wow, what a story. And there's lots of different things you could take from that and discuss and think about. Her uncle being willing to go to death for his love of Jesus. Her dad also willing to be and yet being miraculously saved. And why did he get saved and not the brother? I don't know. And obviously such a really tough life they've all had, with so many bereavements as well. That's not easy. But I think what I want to take from this is this looks like just an average grey-haired old lady, and which probably a lot of people ignore in their church, and yet she's got an extraordinary story of God's faithfulness to her. And we've got some extraordinary old people in Harefield, haven't we? And I know they've all got great stories of how they came to know Jesus. So if you don't know them, these stories, then why don't you ask them? We need to be keeping in touch with the older people at the moment, don't we? So please pray whilst you're having your breakfast or whatever today. Pray for this lady called Lubov. Obviously, I don't know her, but it sounds like she wants to go back to be with her Heavenly Father soon. Please pray for Colin and his family, because it's not the easiest place to be a Christian these days and to lead a church. And also do pray for the old people in Harefield, especially at the moment. So that's my little thought for the day. Have a great day, and we'll see you soon.